Thailand, when you got in trouble again, you went back, I guess, to your old ways after the whole gym, after you coached at there, and then you went to Kansas to work at a farm, and then you went back to Thailand, got in trouble there again. We'll fast forward over to when you went to jail, right? We were talking about that movie.
Yeah, Prayer Before Dawn.
Prayer Before Dawn. And again, that is a crazy movie. The guy that played in the Peaky Blinders, and it's a real life kind of nonfiction. Yeah, it's fiction. I mean, it's a movie, but it tells like people are getting raped there, in prison, and it's what you would see in just actual prisons. Yeah, like it was so
except in
visually
and infinitely worse and
vivid,
dirtier. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Can you number one, before we get into your story, can you describe the prisons in Thailand? Like the prison that particularly obviously
horrible. They're all terrible. I mean, I got taken to a city jail first, which is like, even in the United States, the city jail is like crap. It's I've been there. City jail in Thailand is like horrible. So I woke up the first morning and like urine and feces and insects crawling all over me, and then I got taken from there, through the system, basically their system and their processes, and finally ended up at Klong Prem prison, which is the main one in Bangkok. And it's just vastly different than USA prisons. Like you don't get given anything at all. So like here you would get a bunk, a bed, pillows,
right,
hygiene stuff, toothbrushes, soap, all the stuff that you need. And there's none of that. It's we'll get into describing it more, I'm sure, but it's just different. Yeah. I'll describe it as we go through that story.
Yeah, so you got to prison, and then can you take us from there? Like, how did you feel when you got there? Because was it your first time going to, like, an actual Thailand prison?
Yeah.
It's like, nah.
No, it was. I've been in trouble there before, with the police and stuff, but I bribed my way out of it. And
okay, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've got some funny stories with that, actually. But no, this is my first time actually going to, any sort of facility like that in another country.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and walk you through that, or tell the story.
Yeah. I mean, because the majority of the or people watching this don't know how it's like. Like even for me, even though I say that I've been to like an American, not even prison, it's just a detention center. You know what I mean? It's not even like I'm talking like I went to like a maximum security prison. But yeah, I mean, I think most people don't know how it's like. That's why I think it's so fascinating. Like if you could just walk them through, like, going there, being, I guess you could say, processed.
So like the first thing, I had the whole story of I mean, should I go back though to before that? Like right before we got in, did we talk about like how I ended up in there, getting arrested and all that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of don't remember that. Yeah, whether we covered that or not. So I'll back that up a little bit. But it was after I had a Thai girl that I was with for several years, and she was an alcoholic, and so we had a big, huge falling out. And I had a condo in Bangkok for a while, but with her, she was completely psychotic, right? So she would get really drunk.
She was an alcoholic. Like,
huge, crazy fights, and of course I was addicted and drinking too, and so finally came to one night where like I was leaving, I'd grabbed my bags and I was getting ready to take off, and I had already shut the door behind me, and she locked it and was freaking out, and then I realized I didn't have any of my money, and I had left 30,000 baht inside. So I tried to get her to open the door. She wouldn't. I thought the police were on the way. My passport was expired, so I definitely didn't want the police to show up, because if I showed them my passport, that was it. Like I'd be, in the prison. So I had to break down the door to go in and get my money, which then I could never go back again. Like that was it. That was the last night for us. So that's how I ended up homeless, left that chick and started staying at other places. And then, went through a period where I was training a few people every day, and I would use that little bit of money to maybe get a hostel for the night or maybe sleep, on a rooftop in Bangkok. But for the most part, I was just homeless in Bangkok for a while, and was spending most of my days just getting completely wasted, drunk, on pain pills, depressed, wanted to kill myself, was nightly considering ways to kill myself, and just walking the streets of Bangkok, basically. And one of these nights, I ended up being accosted by the police, just random situation, fell asleep in a gas station after eating something and then woke up and forgotten I had eaten it and left. And, the police came because they said I didn't pay for something. Total misunderstanding. But when I went to go look for my fanny pack, I had lost it or someone had stolen it while I was asleep or something. So I didn't have any money on me, but I did have my passport in my back pocket. So the police looked at it, saw that I was over my visa. That was it. And I got taken to jail that night. Yeah. And I was really, really wasted when I got taken in. So I didn't really even know what was going on. So the next morning, I woke up in the city jail where they had taken me, and that's why I said I woke up in like feces and urine and all this shit. I was like, oh God, I knew I was in trouble because I knew they'd seen the passport.
Yep, right.
And in Thailand, if you're 120 days over your stay, which I was, if you're more than that, then you're done. Like you're going to get banned from the country, prison, sent. So like I knew I was in trouble. But they took me from that city place. I stayed in there for a while. Like it's horrible. I watched a girl smoke meth in the city jail across the thing from me, a Thai girl. I watched her friends bring her in meth, pass it to her while the guard was standing right there.
Like in prison?
Yeah, in the jail. This is in the city jail. And she's smoking meth in the city jail. Like it's so weird. It's so corrupt. Like it's crazy. But anyway, I got taken from there and threw me in a van, took me across town, and then we pulled into the gates and I saw it said Klong Prem prison. And I was very familiar with Klong Prem because that was the famous prison where the Thai inmates can work their way to freedom by fighting, right? Doing Muay Thai fights in the prison.
Yeah.
So I'd seen documentaries on it. So I was familiar when we drove in and I read the sign. I was like, oh crap, like I'm in trouble. You know, they had a court hearing where I had a judge on a video teleprompter and no translator. So
no way.
No, it was conducted in Thai with no translation. They put a bunch of pieces of paper in front of me with no English, and I had to sign. I didn't know what I was signing, and couldn't refuse to sign. They were like, "No,
well, yeah,
sign."
of course, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I just had to sign it, and after that, still didn't really know what was going on, but got taken into the prison to get processed.
Yep.
And whole long process, they strip you naked when you come in. You got to like squat down naked and do a duck walk, like 50 meters back and forth to make sure you don't have anything tucked up inside of you, right? Yeah. Things like that. So you go through all that stuff and that processing, and then you get taken in Klong Prem. Everybody goes to, God, what did we call it? Either rooms or yards. I don't quite remember what we call it, but you get taken to yard 1. And yard 1 is where everybody stays for like 4 to 6 weeks until they decide which unit to send you in for your long time, right? And while you're in 1, you hear stories about the other units. And so people get to hoping they're going to go to one or the other, because of different things. And I kept hearing that Unit 6 was the one to go to, that most of the foreigners would go to. There's very little foreigners in the prison. Say like 10,000 inmates, there's probably 20 foreigners.
Really?
For every 10,000.
Wow, okay.
Not that many.
Interesting.
Yeah. But when I say foreigners, I think like Westerners. Or
sure.
Australians or Americans or Germans or Europeans. But there's certainly more foreigners in the sense of like Lao people and Burmese and like other neighboring countries that come there and get in trouble. They're in there as well.
Sure, yeah.
So there's more foreigners. But anyway, like I kept hearing 6 was where they had some weights and they had some other stuff going on.
They had the amenities.
Yeah, sort of. Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go to 6, but while you're bringing up amenities, we'll cover that.
Yeah.
My first day in the unit 1 there, I got taken around and kind of shown the ropes and stuff. And one of the first things they showed me is where you take a bath, where you shower off. It was a big open like horse trough outside. And the inmates would just bowl water and just, I'd naked outside, just showering, out of this thing. But they told me I couldn't put my hands in the water. You had to have a bowl. And I was like, okay, where's my bowl? They don't give you a bowl. They don't give you a toothbrush. Yeah. They don't give you any of these things, that you need. You have to have money. And for the 10,000, 20,000 Thai inmates, no problem. Their families come up there and they can bring them food and they can bring them KFC from the outside and bring them toothbrush. But if you're a foreigner and you don't have contact with anybody, which that's one of the big things. I didn't get any phone call. I don't have a way to reach my family, no way to call home. The U.S. Embassy only came every 30 days. Every 30 days, they would come once for like an hour. And literally they would sit down and ask you, are you being abused? And like, They didn't even give us our own treatment. I had another American guy in the prison with me, and they would see us both at the same time just to maximize their time, so they only had to be there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, whatever, if we had something private to share, we got to do it together, you know. So, like, the first time the embassy asked me and this guy, "Are they abusing you?" And we like looked at each other, and looked at them, like, "What do you mean? This whole place is abuse.
Yeah, right.
Everything about this. Do you know what this is like inside?"
Yeah.
No, like, no. But are they actually torturing you? Are they? Well, no,
like
but
Guantanamo Bay or something.
yeah, you know. And so we're like, well, no. And so then they're like, all right, we're good. We'll see you in 30 days. You know, like, yeah. And so like they gave me the option to like I could write my mom. But literally, I tried that one time. I wrote my mom. It took my mom almost 2 months to get the letter. And then when she wrote back, it took them almost another 2 months to get me her letter. So we spent 4 months to have 2 exchanges of conversation. So, like, yeah, you're just kind of stuck.
That sounds legitimately just like what you see in the movies.
Yeah.
It legit does. Like every movie that you see, how prisons, you know, as far as like how they depict like corrupt prisons.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. And about the embassy thing, you know what they're thinking? They're probably just like, oh, well, he's like the lowest of the low anyway. Let him rot. Like,
of course.
you know, we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We're just there to make a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, they're just doing their job like any other.
Yeah. I found out actually that there had been in place for like 50 years, there had been a policy in place to protect United States people who got in United States citizens who got in trouble abroad. And it was like a whole little package where your country would send you $1,000. It would, all these things were done to like make sure that you were able to get back home or whatever, that your case was looked at. And I guess during Obama's reign as president, he got rid of all that. So like it was just a time for me to get there and get nothing from my country.
Sure,
no sort of help, no sort of anything, you know?
One thing I wanted to add to that too is that, you know, obviously you're in this prison that you don't know about, but then it's the uncertainty, man. Like you had no translator. You don't. That's if there's any uncertain thing that I'd probably fear the most. It's that. That's what I was thinking when you were telling me that story. I'm like, wait a minute, you're what you know my Latino homies would call gringo at their at a country that number one your visa had expired or yeah. And then you get taken to prison.
And passport.
You don't know the language, right? You don't have a translator. The American embassy, you know they're not doing shit for you. If that's gotta be the most scary, uncertain void. Like your mind has to be running, especially in a Thai prison, because like I said, I've been to like a detention center. And even that, it's you don't know what's gonna happen to you.
No.
Right? It's kind of like, okay, you stand in front of a judge after your like 3-day stay at the detention center, and then she's like, "Well, no bail. Where do we go from here, man? You got a public defender that doesn't give a shit about you."
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking the most. Like I could actually feel that in certain levels, not as crazy as it is all the way to be in Thailand to deal with that, to deal with their corrupt like jail system, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's extremely corrupt.
But wow. Yeah. Sorry. Go on. Because that uncertainty has got to be like a mind fuck. And that's an understatement.